Good afternoon, everyone. Many thanks for joining our lunchtime webinar today. It's wonderful to have so many people on this call. My name is Fionnuala Callery and I'm the chair of the South East Region Committee of Engineers Ireland. And on behalf of the South East Regional Committee, I'm delighted to welcome you today to today's webinar on stormwater management. With the onset of significant weather events, stormwater management has become increasingly important. And in order to ensure the resilience of the built environment, we need to take innovative measures to adapt. For climate adaptation, innovative storage, treatment and mitigation systems can be put in place to minimise the impact of these rain events. So today's webinar on stormwater management has been prepared and is presented today by industry experts from Roadstone and Hydro International. We have Colin Doyle, National Sales Manager for Architectural and Stormwater Management and Treatment Products, Brian Staed, Chartered Engineer and National Specifications Manager, both from Roadstone, and also Phil Collins, Development Director at Hydro International. We're very grateful to the team for organising this event and making their expertise freely available to us to discuss the multiple practical solutions for water management. So the format of this webinar today is that the presentation will take about 40 minutes, starting with Colin, then Phil, and finally Brian. And then we'll have 10 to 15 minutes questions and answers afterwards, or as long as it takes. You can type any questions you have at any stage in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and Colin will moderate at the end with the questions. But before I hand over, I'll just give you a brief overview of the South East region and also a couple of upcoming events. So South East region is a hub for members across all sectors of engineering who are based in Carlow, Kilkenny, South Tipperary, Waterford and Wexford. Represents many sectors of the industry, including third level education, local authorities, local government, contractors, companies, researchers and many more. Our purpose is really to provide a focal point for engineers of all grades and disciplines in the region and to proactively encourage the continuous professional development of local members through delivery of a varied programme of lectures like today, seminars, site visits, social and networking events. Other upcoming events that you should keep an eye out for is we have an in-person event on the future of semiconductors to be held in the Setu Arena in Waterford next month, Thursday the 9th of October. So registration for that is open. We're also hoping to hold another webinar next month on 3D construction printing, again hosted by Roadstone. The date for that is to be confirmed, but it will prove to be a very interesting event. And for those of you who like golf, there's a Tremor golf outing on Friday the 10th of October. Hopefully the registration will open for that next week. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Colin and we can kick off on this stormwater management webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, Fionnuala. So my name is Colin. I'm a sales manager for Roadstone. So I'm going to just kick off with a few slides, just giving a background really where we come from Roadstone with regard to SUDS and stormwater management. I suppose we're going to move on then to Phil, who's going to talk about his experience and his Hydro International's experience, over 40 years experience in stormwater and developing off the ground these stormwater products, management products that are now common fare in every construction site in the country, and how, you know, he's going to talk a bit about the background. Then we're going to go into Brian. Brian is really going to go through what Roadstone are doing regarding stormwater management and, you know, both the products and as well talking a bit about the engineering, and of course all the time trying to get people to interact with either Brian or with Hydro in the UK to see can we move on these projects and find solutions for issues on site. With regard to Roadstone, so basically we were in the concrete and stone business and tar macadam and lots of different basic building products. And when it comes to stormwater products, which is something we have moved into since our sister company Hydro International came on board, we're really looking at the relevant sectors we're looking to and we are involved in really are the public sector with regard to schools, universities and social housing. And we've recently put a stormwater treatment product into UCD with BAM. So residential housing developments, we see hydro rakes and flow management products are very common in residential units. Private commercial, be they warehouses or retail parks and shopping centres, car parks, with regard to large scale attenuation and stormwater flow management products. We're doing a bit of scrimog with regard to motorways and link roads, etc., and infrastructure, providing flow management products into the hydro brakes into a lot of projects with regard to infrastructure projects, and we see that increasing as we go through over the next couple of years as we get more and more into the market. For IrishWill, we have specified in price to defend our flow water treatment product into IrishRail there recently. So we'll be hoping that comes and becomes a live project in the coming weeks. And water utilities as well, with regard to treatment works and water networks, etc. That's an area that we're beginning to move in. And Brian will have a chat to you in the end about an upcoming seminar we'll have before Christmas, which will begin to deal with Roadstone's and Hydro solution to stormwater management issues, as well as combined sewer overflows, flooding issues, etc. So that's what we'll be moving on to at year end with regard to our Christmas seminar. So where Roadstone have been is that for the last 25 years, we've been in the permeable pavements business, be it permeable paving itself, or in the Duraflow permeable tarmac adam. We have done a lot of work with regard to permeable no fines concrete, mostly as a kind of an underlay material underneath Duraflow or underneath permeable paving, as a kind of to increase the structural viability of the pavement. So we have been involved in both design of projects, and we're looking at there is the car parking in the airport. So again, that was a Duraflow product in the car parking spaces, where the standard driveways were a standard SMA product, stone mastic asphalt for hard wearing, but the actual parking spaces were themselves a Duraflow permeable tarmac adam product, and all the water is recycled for use in the airport. So all the water there's a circular use of the water as it goes through. So regarding permeable paving, we've been doing design permeable paving offerings for the last 20 years. Again, it's a very simple design. Obviously, you excavate out the subgrade, you put in your curbing, then you put what we call an Impedex geotextile on the bottom that provides a certain amount of treatment if water is going to ground. We have an SE Integrid for flexural reinforcement within the stone body at the bottom, and this minimizes the amount of depth you need to go to in order to get the kind of support you need for the paving. So it minimizes dig, etc. Again, crushed no fines stone is in place, another layer of Impedex, a laying grit, and then the paving themselves. So again, this has been designed and is becoming fairly much commonplace with regard to dealing with the water or stormwater events with regard to permeable paving. Can either go to ground or go for delayed for attenuation and delayed discharge, and then that offers our hydro attenuation system, which bolts on to our permeable paving offering. But very little of our permeable paving is for ingress to ground. I'd say about 5% of what we do is ingress to ground. The rest is just left for delayed for attenuation and delayed discharge. So we see what just the general build-up. You can integrate rainwater harvesting into the systems as well, and then you can take roof water into the system as well. Again, in Roadstone, we're a big believer in design and proper design, and we have services in place for design of all our systems as well, just to make sure that they work properly and that we minimize the amount of ground excavated, and we minimize the amount of virgin material used in the products. So that's our permeable paving offering. I'm just going to hand you over to Phil, and Phil is going to talk just through our Hydro International and how they operate in the UK and here in Ireland over the last decades.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Colin. Hydro joined the CRH group 2 years ago, and for the last 12 months, we've been working closely with Roadstone with regard to bringing together both what Roadstone do and what Hydro have been doing in Ireland for the last 20 years. So Hydro's been active in terms of catchment management and deploying its products from stormwater management perspective into water quantity, quality and monitoring solutions in Ireland. That's a combination of the products that Brian will touch on. But we take a holistic view to how we approach the innovation that we have from a technology platform perspective. So the fundamental principles of what Hydro is about is having products that have effectively no power and no moving parts. And we couple that with what we do in both dealing with catchment and what we do in wastewater treatment. So fundamentally, our stormwater products are all around sustainable drainage. And we couple that with, I suppose, linking it to the capacity demands associated with wastewater treatment. Similarly, we apply the same engineering principles with regard to using hydrodynamic vortex separation at inlet works as we do for treating stormwater. And as Colin talked about, we have a rich heritage in dealing with CSOs, predominantly around screening of CSOs. So we have a range of technologies that we'll be talking about later this year. But we match basically the quantity aspect of controlling CSOs using our vortex technology. Next slide, please, Brian. So in terms of the solutions that we offer, fundamentally based on 3 core capabilities: slowing water down, taking things out of water, and understanding the water environment. And the core 6 application areas that Brian will talk to in regard to the products relate to flood protection, stormwater management today. As I said, we're looking at having a session later in the year or before the year end around combined sewer treatment and flooding. What's really interesting for us in terms of the collaboration and partnership with Roadstone is bringing a holistic approach to the stormwater market in Ireland in terms of both quantity and quality, and we're looking to evolve that into how it relates to CSOs, and we'll talk more to that later in the year. So I'll hand over to Brian now, and he'll take you through the products, the stormwater products, in more detail.
Okay, thanks, Phil. So as the guys have said, the acquisition of Hydro is a great fit for CRH and for Roadstone. It's a good tie-in and follow-on from the permeable paving solutions that Roadstone's been offering for the last 20 years, as Colin has gone through. Obviously, with extreme weather and flood events becoming all too common, a news story, planning conditions are becoming very onerous, with stricter water discharge conditions being applied. So we're delighted to have the opportunity to be involved in designing and supplying solutions, working in conjunction with Hydro, design engineers, and of course on-site contractors, in an effort to reduce and hopefully eliminate the negative effects of these events. So I just go through, there's 2 kind of areas we'll cover. Stormwater attenuation is the first one. That's broken up into flow control, where we look at the hydro-break optimum and the hydro-break flood. Then we'll cover attenuation and infiltration. So 2 systems there in terms of the crate system and arch or tunnel system. And then the second area is stormwater treatment. So 3 solutions there: the downstream defender, upflow filter, and the biofilter. So as Phil has said, Hydro have been around for over 40 years. They developed the UK's first vortex flow control device. It's the most widely specified flow control in the market. So the basics of it: a hydro-break controls the flow of water into the sewer or water course and replacing old inefficient solutions such as orifice plates, restricting the flows downstream at agreed rates. It then allows the slow release of temporarily backed up water at the same restricted rate, relieving pressure on sewer systems and reducing flood effects. The hydro-break optimum is adjustable by plus or minus 20%, so it's future-proofed for any change, maybe in planning conditions or design conditions. So it can be adjusted without having to replace the device. The schematic there just demonstrates the flow of water through the unit. The characteristics of it: they can be designed up to a maximum flow of 550 litres per second, a max head of 4 meters, and an approximate storage area 275 hectares. Now, those figures are based on an average of 2 litres per second per hectare. So this video clip, while many of you would be used to seeing a hydro-break, you may not have seen the water flow in action. So this is a sort of a transparent test unit. So it shows what happens as the head of water increases in the chamber. The hydro-break pulls air from downstream to create a core of air through the unit. That in turn restricts the flow going downstream. The core of air you see there is directly equivalent to the area of water that can't flow downstream. And then when the storm passes, the water level drops and the unit again becomes just a large open orifice. And because the device isn't physically closed down, it can get more water off site during the early stages of the storm. You can see the schematic of the flow versus the head graph there. And it will also, it drains down quicker, leaving the tank volume ready to accept another follow-on event. There's two, that's just the hydro brakes in situ. There's two types. The most typical one is the S-type hydro brake. It requires a sump in the manhole. The other type is a C-type, which is a combined unit, which would be both sewer and stormwater, and it doesn't require a sump. And the design of that, it just prevents blockages. So a larger version of that is the hydrobrake flood. And the hydrobrake flood control provides consistent, reliable, large-scale flood protection at watercourse level, preventing costly damage and disruption to people, businesses, and essential infrastructure and services. Typically installed in or adjacent to a designated attenuation area, such as an embanked field or whatever is designed as part of the flood relief scheme. This is pictures from flood relief scheme in the UK around the River Douglas, and it's one of the largest flood detention reservoirs in England. You can see just the picture on the right kind of gives you an idea how large these units are. This one had a temporary storage area or volume of 370 cubic meters of water, which is quite substantial. Another similar project over there was in Glasgow, where they suffered years of flooding in and around the city, and once this scheme or this project was put in place, it was a great success to both businesses and residents in the area, as it prevented further damage and even loss of life. Hydro have an online design tool which allows engineers to design uniquely effective flow controls, which can be used in flood mitigation and stormwater management projects. The future-proof feature is incorporated into it, and you can see just a screenshot of the tool online there. It's quite straightforward to use. Moving on then to the attenuation systems. The first one is the crate system. So this is a stackable system which reduces transport costs. It's available as a full depth 660 mil or a half block, which is 360 mil. There are 4 options available from light duty to heavy duty. Storm block LT is lighter for cars and anything under 3 ton. Next one up is the MX, using car parks, bus lanes, pedestrian zones, or light traffic. Moving on to the SX for heavier traffic, and then the HX, which is for very heavy traffic up to 60 tons. That's just a quick overview of things like installation depths there, where the Stormblock Light, the LT and the MX can go up to 3 meters, whereas the SX can go into a depth of 4 and the HX to a depth of 6. And all the cover depth, they all require cover depth of 0.8 of a meter for anything that is trafficked over them. That's just a photo of the size these tanks can get up to. It's quite a large one there. This is another one that was being installed just when Hydro and Roadstone joined forces. This was a project we went to look at just outside Heathrow. So this is a soakaway pit. The white material is the geotextile. If this was a tank system, you'd have a geomembrane inside that as well. And you can see the inspection chambers and the multi-diameter connection pipes as well. This is a live job we're currently on in South Dublin. It's a large residential site with very limited area to work. You can see how tight. There's 4 tanks there initially in between the buildings. So you can see the tanks are situated very close to surrounding services, buildings, footings. different things. So it took quite a bit of work. So we would have worked closely and continue to work closely with the consultant engineers on this job. For example, the tank there at the bottom ended up having to be split in two just due to surrounding services. And, there was a good bit of over and back between. So we would have worked with the engineers on that and the contractor on site, just to ensure everything went smoothly and everything was covered. So it's an ongoing project at the minute. It's a supply and install project by ourselves. So we work closely with their safety team as well on site to ensure everything is not just put in technically correctly, but also safely as well. So it's a service we would provide. There's also 4 hydro brakes on it and 2 hydrocarbon interceptors. The next attenuation system is a tunnel system. It's an alternative to the crate system. It does require a much larger footprint than the crate system. So a system like this would not have worked on the previous site that I had up there, purely for space. So the reason for that is while the tunnel itself offers 100% voids, the overall stone volume relies on the voids within the stone, which would be down typically 30 to 40% depending on the stone used. So it's a long way off the 96% you get with the crate system. So that's the reason for requiring a much larger dig. Again, the system is a stackable system similar to the crate system, lightweight, fast and easy to install, and can be installed in high traffic areas as well as pedestrian areas. They're just typical dimensions of a typical unit there with its end plate. Again, these are just various designs that are available depending on the requirement. So that's light to sort of medium to heavy duty or heavy loading. And then there's different layout options available depending on site requirements. So moving on then to stormwater treatment products or solutions. We look at 3 solutions here: the downstream defender, the upflow filter, and the biofilter. That's just a typical animation of how a defender might be placed on treating runoff water from a roadside. So the downstream defender is a high efficiency dynamic separator working on a vortex principle. Solids are directed down into the sump and floating debris directed to the top of the unit where it is detained. The essential difference between this solution and a simple silt trap is in its very high resistance to washout and the sediments being distributed by a high flow and re-inflamed. This is why the concept has been so widely used to protect sensitive habitats. We've installed numerous units around the country, such as with Clonmel Enterprises in Adamstown and Banana UCD, as Colin mentioned earlier. The downstream defender is also it's available in 2 options. So you can get it in a concrete chamber or in a plastic chamber, again depending on site requirements. So in terms of the downstream defender and the simple index approach, the simple index approach outlined in the SUDS manual is a water quality design method for sites with a low to medium risk pollution hazard level. Pollution hazard indices assigned to a given land use for 3 pollutant groups, which is total suspended solids, metals, and hydrocarbons. SUDS components selected until combined pollution mitigation index score is greater than the pollution hazard for each pollution group. So for the downstream defender and again for the upflow filter, there is mitigation indices assigned to these products. So it allows you to design it in depending on the hazard level, and one unit may cover the requirement. It may require more than one or a combination of a downstream defender along with a natural solution. So there's various options that can be designed in tandem. Again, these are just showing the chamber sizes there on the right that the downstream defender can be installed in. And in terms of again, just to cover what it can do, the downstream defender, it'll remove coarse and fine sediments, litter, debris, liquid hydrocarbons with an extra enhanced retention option, and a certain amount of sediment-bound metals. Again, the design tool, there's a section there for designing the downstream defender. You can input your sizing, method, catchment area, treatment flow rate, and peak flow rate, and it will give you a product out the other end. And we basically, between ourselves and Hydro, then we take it from there and come up with a final solution that we ensure it works for what the customer is looking for. The next product is the upflow filter. The upflow filter comes in various combinations. Again, it's a manhole type product. It's an advanced stormwater treatment system that combines sedimentation and screening with filtration to deliver exceptional surface water pollution removal. It's verified to remove 80% of total suspended solids, but it has a demonstrated removal rate of up to 98%. It's a flexible, high-performance treatment solution that can be customized to meet specific requirements. And like all Hydro products, it's designed with efficiency, longevity, and upkeep in mind. The targeted pollutants for this, again, very fine particles, trash and floatables, and liquid and sediment-bound hydrocarbons, and will also remove sediment-bound heavy metals and sediment-bound nutrients. And it's suited to a wide range of sites. Third and final product is the biofilter, or the Hydro biofilter, which is it's an aesthetic-looking product. It removes similar products to the upflow filter. Again, large and very fine particles, dissolved liquid and sediment-bound hydrocarbons, gross pollutants, heavy metals, and nutrients. It is essentially a tree in a box, and the type of planting or tree that goes in the box is locally decided and will fit in with the local environment. This is just a little animation that just demonstrates how it works in terms of flow and treatment. So as it does, there are various simultaneous actions happening, including filtration, ion exchange, bioremediation, and phytoremediation. And as you know, very clean water reaches the base of the unit. It exits via perforated pipes and can be introduced or reintroduced safely into the environment. So it's a niche type of product. So in summary, the downstream defender, it's a vortex dynamic separator, removes coarse and fine particles and liquid and sediment-bound hydrocarbons and gross pollutants. The next two products are the same, with the added removal of heavy metals and nutrients. Just in terms of the hydrologic smart maintenance, which is just it's telemetry that allows close monitoring of unit performance. It sends alerts when units require maintenance, resulting in efficient and cost-effective programming that avoids both over and under maintaining units, which can often be an issue. And it also provides peace of mind that the unit is performing as designed as well. So that's my lot.
Thanks, Brian. I just something there as we went by the hydro break flood. We looked at projects in the UK there, Brian did, but we have a project ongoing in Kilkenny at the minute that's regarding to a flooding, looking at a hydro break flood. So there are live projects in Ireland in that product, and I think it's so important to say, but these are all passive solutions. Like, so obviously a hydro break flood is a big civils product. It's a passive solution to an issue that's raised in an area like, say, areas that were, or towns that were prone to flooding. Being a Carlow person myself, I was well aware of flooding in the 80s and 90s, but the good news is we solved our problem now, and it's down the river in Graignamanagh now. So that's what we're looking to look at now. But these are passive solutions, and they are issues that are live in Ireland. Again, we showed a few in the UK, but the hydro break flood is a solution to a flooding issue. It doesn't stop flooding happening, but it allows you to control where the flooding happens into a greenfield area rather than into town centres, affecting businesses and commerce. And homes and people's lives, etc. So